So, what if modern psychology, with all its incredible advancements, was maybe missing something huge, something absolutely fundamental about what it means to be human? Today, we're going to dive into a fascinating framework that asks that exact question and offers a completely different user's manual for the mind.
Wow, that is a pretty startling statement, right? And it's even more shocking when you find out who said it. Alan Francis was the lead editor of the DSM. That's basically psychiatry's Bible. His whole point was that modern psychology might be turning normal life into a disease. And that really sets the stage for the crisis this whole new framework is trying to solve. All right, so first up, let's unpack what this crisis is all about. The central argument is that modern psychology, in its race to be seen as a hard science, might have built its whole house on some pretty shaky ground. And here's the core critique. Because psychology was born from a lot of secular, sometimes even atheistic philosophies, it tends to define us in purely material terms, as complex biological machines, or as the source puts it, evolved animals. But from that starting point, there's just no room for a spiritual dimension, which this framework argues is kind of the most important part of being human. And if you dig a little deeper, the critiques get way more specific. The sources point to its origins in Greek philosophy, the personal baggage of guys like Freud and Maslow coloring their theories, and a total blind spot for what it calls heart illnesses, things like pride or envy. And, maybe most importantly, it suggests there was this entire golden age of psychological wisdom from Islamic scholars that's just been completely ignored by the mainstream. So, if that's the problem, what's the alternative? Well, this isn't just a small fix, it's a total reboot, starting from a completely different place. Let's see how this framework, the jurisprudence of the self, builds a new understanding from the ground up. And here it is, the core idea. The jurisprudence of the self is all about trying to understand who we are, not through the lens of human ideas and philosophies, but through the lens of a divine creator. It's basically saying the best user's manual comes from the manufacturer. This chart just lays out the difference so clearly, it's pretty stark. On one side, you've got modern psychology, coming from human philosophy, seeing us as material beings and aiming for happiness in this life. And on the other, you have this framework, starting with divine revelation, seeing us as a blend of body and soul, with a purpose of finding peace here for success in the hereafter. They are just fundamentally different operating systems. Okay, that's the big picture theory. But how does this actually work in practice? How can we use it as a manual for our own minds? This next part breaks it all down. So, first things first, we need a definition. The self, that's you, me, isn't just our physical body, and it isn't just a separate soul floating around. In this model, the self is a brand new thing that pops into existence only when the body and the soul come together. I absolutely love this analogy from the source material. It makes it so simple. The body is the coffee grounds, the soul is the hot water. Neither one on its own is coffee. But when you put them together, you get something totally new, the coffee drink. That's your self, and you can't just separate them back out again.
So how does this self actually operate? The model gives us this simple but incredibly powerful three-stage flow. Everything that makes you, you, can be understood through this constant cycle of inputs, processes, and outputs.
Okay, let's start with inputs. This is literally everything you take in through your senses, and they're broken into two types. You've got your compulsory inputs, stuff you can't control, like your parents, where you grew up, the ads you see on the bus. Then you have your voluntary inputs. These are your choices, the friends you hang out with, the music you listen to, the stuff you watch online.
All right, next up, processes. You can think of this as the black box of the mind. This is the internal stage where you take all those inputs, all that data, and you actually do something with it. It's where we make sense of the world, whether we realize we're doing it or not. And this stage has three little steps inside it. First is sensation. That's just receiving the input. Let's say you hear some music in a mall. Second is thinking. This is where you actively engage with it. You ask, hey, what is this song? Finally, there's deciding, forming a conclusion. Now, if you just let that music wash over you without ever really thinking about it, you've skipped a step. And you know what happens? You leave the mall and suddenly you're humming this annoying song, basically programmed by an input you never consciously processed. So what comes out the other side of all that processing? The outputs. And that's your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors. Every single thing you do, every feeling you have, every idea that crosses your mind is an output. It's a direct result of how you processed your inputs. And now for the absolute game changer. The loop doesn't end there. Your own outputs, the words you say, the things you do, become the very next set of inputs that your self has to process. You are constantly creating the environment that is in turn shaping you. It's this incredibly powerful self-perpetuating feedback loop.
So this brings us to the ultimate takeaway of the whole model. If we are constantly being shaped by this loop, then the smartest way to stay healthy isn't to fix problems after they happen, it's to stop them from ever starting.
The whole philosophy really boils down to this: proactive self-management. Instead of waiting for a crisis and scrambling for a cure, the goal here is prevention. And your number one tool for prevention is to become a mindful gatekeeper of your own inputs. You have to ask, what am I letting into my mind?
So here's where it becomes a real practical strategy. 3 steps. Step 1, just reduce the noise. Turn off the 24-hour news. Declutter your desk. Limit the junk inputs that don't help you. Step 2, for the inputs you can avoid, consciously process them. Think about them. Decide what you believe. Don't just let them program you. And step 3, create positive outputs. Say kind things. Do good things. Because those actions are going to become the positive inputs for your future self.
And this quote just perfectly captures the spirit of it all. It kind of rejects that idea that you have to burn yourself out to help other people. Instead, the focus is on building up your own inner light first. The idea is, when you're shining brightly for yourself, you naturally light up the path for everyone around you. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's step 1.
And that leaves us with this final, really powerful question to think about. If every single action, every word, and every thought you have today becomes the raw material that builds the you of tomorrow, what are you feeding your own feedback loop? What kind of self are you building right now, today?